Hey, my name is Christian Bastnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you all are notified whenever I post more Olympic content like this. The 2024 Paris Tennis Olympics women's singles draw is out, and I'm not gonna lie, all the news surrounding the games is more exciting than the actual tournament itself. Some major news yesterday was Coco Gauff being announced as the flag bearer for the United States alongside LeBron James. This is the first time in history that a tennis player will bear the US flag at the Olympics, which is crazy considering that we had Venus and Serena both compete at the Olympics before in the past, and I think that they definitely should have had the honor at some point in their careers. But still, I think Gauff is very much deserving of the honor as the current world number 2 on the WTA and the reigning US Open champion. So congratulations, Coco, on that incredible achievement, and I cannot wait to see her in the opening ceremony raising those stars and stripes. 2021 bronze medalist Elina Svitolina will be the flag bearer for Ukraine, and then 668th ranked Danka Kovinic will do the honors for Montenegro. Today also brought us some noteworthy news as three-time slam champion Angelique Kerber announced that she will be retiring after these 2024 games. The 36-year-old German, who was a silver medalist at the 2016 Rio Games, said that Paris will mark the end of the most incredible journey that she could have ever dreamed of, which includes winning titles at the Australian Open, US Open, and Wimbledon. Kerber also held the world number 1 spot for a total of 34 weeks. Angelique gave birth to her daughter Liana in February of 2023 and returned to the tour at the top of this year. It definitely was not the most successful comeback to the tour, as she totaled a 7-11 win-loss record and is currently ranked 217th in the world. The German also was unable to win a single slam match following her comeback. It is not easy at all to return to the tour after giving birth, and Angie realized that she could not keep up with the rest of the tour and bowed out gracefully. I also think with her kind of counter-punching and grueling game style, it was going to be an uphill battle for her anyways. Regardless, Angelique had a great career and she'll be a Hall of Famer for sure, I think, in the coming years. Happy retirement, Angie. Speaking of retirement, Elena Rybakina pulled out of yet another tournament, of course the tournament being these Paris Games, due to bronchitis, which she said that she contracted soon after Wimbledon. Rybakina's withdrawal was not really a surprise at all because she was not seen in Paris and the tournament starts in 2 days. Rybakina fans just have it tough because this is the 6th tournament this year that she's withdrawn or retired from. Poor thing just has the weakest immune system known to man. Hopefully she can get access to a better doctor. 2021 silver medalist Marketa Vondrousova also withdrew from the games a couple days ago due to a hip injury. Other big names, Aryna Sabalenka and Ons Jabeur, decided to skip the tournament and will instead compete in next week's DC City Open 500. Focusing now on the Olympics draw, it has 64 players, no bias, and is comprised of 16 seeds. Reigning Roland Garros champion and massive gold medal favorite Iga Swiatek will open her campaign against Romania's Irina Camelia Begu and could then face home French favorite Dan Perry, followed by Diana Schneider in the 3rd round, Danielle Collins in the quarterfinals, Xin Weizhang in the semis, and Coco Gauff in the final. A lot of fans were saying that Iga had the roughest draw out of all the top players because she could face Linda Noskova in the 3rd round, who beat her at this year's Australian Open. And then she could face either her biggest op, Yelena Ostapenko, or Danielle Collins in that quarterfinal. I honestly do think people are overreacting because this draw, I think, will be just fine for Iga. She opens against Begu, who is decent on the clay for sure, but I think that Iga should still clear. She could face Nadia Podoroska in the 2nd round, which would be a rematch of their 2020 Roland Garros semifinal, which Iga took convincingly in straight sets. I think that Iga would also take this one in straight sets should they face, but I don't think they will. Instead, I do think that Iga will face Dan Perry in that 2nd round. Perry, she has a lot of flair and she seems to really enjoy playing at her home slam, but I still think that she is no match for Iga. I think that it'll be between Noskova or Schneider who will face Iga in that 3rd round. Linda has had a so-so 2024 season since reaching the Australian Open quarterfinals. She's just coming off a semifinal showing in her home country in Prague, barely losing to Magda Linette, so she does have some good reps and form coming into these games. Meanwhile, Diana Schneider is low-key red hot as the Russian won her last 12 of 13 matches. She's also coming off a title on the red clay in Budapest too, so she has a lot of confidence too, heading into the games. However, I think Schneider's opening round opponent, Elisabetta Cocheretto, could be tough, and the Italian actually beat Schneider in last month's Birmingham Classic. In the bottom section, there is Ostapenko, who will open against solid clay courter Camila Osorio, and this is the first match of the Colombian since she retired from her Wimbledon second round due to a left thigh injury. Another Slam champion, Caroline Wozniacki, will play Egyptian Maya Sharif. I actually favor Sharif there, who is far more comfortable on clay than the Dane is. And last but not least, at the bottom is Danielle Collins, who gets the crafty German Laura Siegemund as her opening round opponent. I am more inclined to pick Danielle over Ostapenko to make the Elite Eight, primarily because Collins is the more reliable of the two players. Now, does Danielle have what it takes to beat Iga in that quarterfinal hypothetical match? Yes, but her chances are not that great. Collins, of course, she went on that infamous 15, match win streak that included titles in Miami and Charleston. She also made the semifinals of Rome, but I do think that this matchup doesn't necessarily favor her with Iga. She did beat Iga one time before at the 2022 Australian Open semifinals very handily, and she was close to taking down Swiatek once again in Melbourne this year, but she does have a 1-6 head-to-head record over Iga, and a lot of their matches were honestly one-sided. I also think that Iga will be on guard against Danielle should they play, and with this one being on clay, the odds are further in the Polish women's favor, so I will have the number 1 seed Iga progress through to the Final Four. Caroline Garcia replaced Rybakina up there at the top of, which is now Qinwen Zhang's section, and she was initially supposed to play Qinwen, so I know that both Zhang and Garcia are happy that they do not have to face each other. Garcia, though, needs to watch out for Romanian Jacqueline Christian, who made some good strides on the dirt this season. Caroline is a dangerous player for sure, but she has not done much of anything since making the Miami Open quarterfinals. Garcia and Osaka could play for the 4th time this season alone in the second round. Naomi will have a very interesting opening round opponent, and of course Angelique Kerber. Clay is not Angie's best surface by any means, but you could say the same thing for Naomi. However, Osaka, as she proved with her near upset over Iga at Roland Garros in the second round this year, has shown great improvement on the clay this year, and I think that even though Kerber leads the head-to-head between the two 4-2, Naomi, I think, will be the favorite here to progress past Kerber. She also won their last meeting at the 2022 Miami Open, by the way, winning that one in straight sets. I do think Osaka has a decent shot against Garcia if she does play her, because Caro, as I mentioned earlier, is not in great form, but I already know the French woman would wake up if she were to play Naomi, especially with that crowd behind her. Looking down a bit, we have another intriguing opening round clash between 16th seed Leylah Fernandez and last year's Roland Garros finalist Karolina Muchova. This is only Muchova's 4th tournament back since her 10-month injury hiatus. She had a very good showing last week, making the Palermo Open finals before falling to top seed and defending champion Zhang in straight sets. Leylah has shown better form herself too recently, making the Eastbourne 500 finals not too long ago. This will be a big match, and I feel like whoever comes out on top will progress to make the quarterfinals. I am leaning a bit more towards Muchova because she seems a bit more comfortable on this surface. Then the bottom portion looks very mid, to be honest, with Emma Navarro and Qinwen Zhang looking to be on a clear collision course to meet in the 3rd round. I would favor Emma there if those two did play. I know that Zhang has the confidence from that Palermo title, but Navarro, in my opinion, has been the better player lately, making the 4th round at Roland Garros and the quarterfinals at Wembley. To me, Navarro would be the strong favorite to make the semifinals here because she really doesn't have too many threats standing in her way. She showed at Wimbledon that her game is very tricky for Naomi, and there's no telling whether Muchova's body will even hold up to make the Final Four, and then Garcia is just too unpredictable. To me, Emma was the clear pick here to progress through. At the top of Jasmine Paolini's section is Jessica Pegula, who will likely face Elina Svitolina in round 2. Pegula has lost both her top 5 ranking and her Mrs. Consistent title after this season, which is some part due to some injury problems. This will be JPEG's first tournament on red clay this season too, which puts her at a further disadvantage. I have Svitolina coming through to make the 3rd round, as I feel like she will be more on guard, as she has a lot more to prove, I think, representing Ukraine. I think that she's one of those players who plays better whenever she does represent her country. Wimbledon champion Barbora Krejcikova will open against Sara Sorribes-Tormo. That honestly could be a tricky match for Krejcikova because Sara Sorribes-Tormo, she also knocked out the reigning Wimbledon champion at the last Olympic Games in 2021, Ash Barty, in straight sets in Tokyo. Sorribes-Tormo is a tough customer on the clay too. Of course, Krejcikova is as well, as she won Roland Garros back in 2021. I will put this as an upset alert because I am worried that the quick turnaround for Barbora after winning Wimbledon will be tough for her, especially changing surfaces like that. I think that it might be too much for her. Brazil's Beatriz Haddad Maia will open against Barbora Krejcikova, which could be an interesting one for sure. Krejcikova will have the full crowd support, and she did have a great showing last time she played at Roland Garros, where she made the fourth round this year. Haddad Maia has not had a stellar 2024 season for her standards, but I think that she will be pretty pleased with her draw. Katie Boulter is a possible second round opponent for Haddad Maia, but the Brit is still searching for her maiden tour level win on the clay. Reigning Roland Garros and Wimbledon finalist Jasmine Paolini will have a tough second rounder either way, playing either Magda Linette or Mira Andreeva. Both Magda and Mira are in the finals of 250 tournaments right now too. I think that it's a good opportunity for Jasmine to go deep at another big tournament, but I am not sure with all the tennis she's played lately going deep at both Roland Garros and Wimbledon. Will she have enough in the tank to go deep yet again? I do not know. I'm more leaning towards Haddad Maia not only coming through to make the quarterfinals, but advancing to the semis. She enjoys the clay, and I believe that she will be the freshest out of all the top contenders here. And last but not least, second seed Coco Gauff, she will open against Australia's Ajla Tomljanovic and could meet Tatiana Maria in round 2, Donna Vekic in the third, Maria Sakkari in the quarterfinals, Jasmine Paolini in the semis, and Iga in the final. This is definitely one of the more interesting sections that we have here. I think that Sakkari needs to watch out for 28th ranked Ekaterina Alexandrova in round 2, as we all know that Sakkari is very vulnerable in the early stages of big tournaments. Marta Kostyuk is Maria's potential third round opponent, but I'm calling for an upset alert there for the Ukrainian, as unfortunately for Kostyuk, she has not done a whole lot lately, while Putintseva has made excellent strides as of late, namely beating Iga at Wimbledon. Yulia is also a better clay court player than Marta. I feel like that little Sakkari section has a lot of opportunity there because, as I alluded to earlier, Maria, you cannot bet on her to do well at a big tournament nowadays at all. Katerina Siniakova and Clara Burel are some more tricky players who could cause some surprises too. Looking down, Wimbledon semifinalist Donna Vekic will open against Lucia Bronzetti, who is a solid clay court player, and recently she won a 125 title. The second round is guaranteed to be a tough one for the Croatian Vekic, as she would get either former US Open champion Bianca Andreescu or talented young Dane Clara Tauson, who made the fourth round at Roland Garros this year. I am more leaning towards Andreescu to come through there and honestly make the third round. Vekic has had a long month, making the Bad Homburg final and Wimbledon semifinals, and I do not know whether she'll recover in time for the tournament, especially seeing how she struggled a lot physically during that semifinal against Paolini. Tomljanovic as an opening round opponent for Coco is kind of interesting. The Aussie, of course, is a very talented player and has the potential to upset many people when she's on her game. Coco's coach, Brad Gilbert, is not going to be with Coco in Paris either, which I think is pretty interesting too, especially when you consider how they didn't have the best exchange in Coco's last match at Wimbledon. Regardless, I think that this is a very good draw for Coco, and I think that should she progress past Tomljanovic, she should clear whoever she faces in the second round. Round 3 would be Gauff's biggest challenge in this section, in my opinion, as she would face likely either Andreescu, Tauson, or Vekic, and all three of those players have the games to truly trouble Coco. But I think the American's superior clay court prowess will get her through. Maria Sakkari will be obviously a big threat for Coco should both of those players come through to make the quarterfinals, but I do not think that Maria is making it that far, to be honest. I will be putting Coco through to make the semifinals. Looking at my predictions, in the semifinals, I have Iga going up against Emma Navarro and then Beatriz Haddad Maia against Coco Gauff. Then in the final gold medal match, I think that Coco and Iga will face off, and in the bronze medal match, of course, will be between Navarro and Haddad Maia. My final podium picks will be gold, Iga, silver, Coco, and then bronze medal, Emma Navarro. Briefly going over some notable snubs. First, with the Iga section, I think Schneider possibly could maybe do something if she's somewhat healthy. I think I didn't have her really troubling Iga too much because the Russian has played so much tennis lately, and I think that ultimately all that tennis will catch up to her in the games. Danielle Collins, potentially, she could shock Iga, but I think it's going to take a great day of tennis from Danielle and a not so great day of tennis from Iga. And maybe if the roof is closed, obviously I think that would favor Danielle a lot more, so you never know. Jelena Ostapenko, I think, would have a decent shot at taking down Iga if she were to make it through to the quarterfinals. But really, ever since she made the Roland Garros, or she won Roland Garros in 2017, the Latvian has not done much at all on clay, especially at this tournament site of Roland Garros. Looking at what was formerly Rybakina's section, Naomi, she could potentially go on a deep run here, but I'm not so sure about her because still, even though she has shown improvement on the clay, it'll be a bit of a rough turnaround coming from grass to clay, I think, for her specifically, knowing too that she's pretty injury prone. I also think that Garcia potentially could do something there as well, but her draw is not easy. I think that she really needs to rely on using the crowd's energy, especially with these being the Olympic Games. I think that if she brings a good level of tennis, she can go very deep in the tournament and potentially come home with a medal. Both Leylah Fernandez and Karolina Muchova, I think, have the potential to come through that section instead of, I think, Navarro, but I still think that Emma is the more solid pick. Same thing with Qingwen Zhang. I think Zhang, she showed great form or better form in Palermo, but I still think that Navarro is the better or the best player in that section overall. Next, in the Paolini section, starting with Jasmine. Jasmine is a notable snub for sure. I think that she's been playing great tennis and she's become really a big tournament player. So if she does have the energy, for sure, she could come home with a medal. Also, Barbora Krejcikova is another one too, who I think that if she plays the same how she did at Wimbledon, for sure she can come home with a medal, even the gold too. Elina Svitolina, I think possibly could do something and medal again, but it would be more of an uphill battle with her tougher draw and having to face Jessica Pegula. Ultimately, I did have Pegula coming out on top of that match if she were to face Svitolina in that second round, but still, I do not see the American Pegula going as far. And then lastly, looking at the snubs in Coco's section, Maria Sakkari, yeah, for sure a snub, but I'm not too, worried about that because I really am confident that she won't go as far. Hopefully she proves me wrong because I think that she should have a decent showing at some tournament. She's way too talented to be having these results that she's been having, but I'm going to stick with my gut there. And then Donna Vekic, she for sure showed that she has the game to win a big title and have big results, but I'm just not so sure about her body holding up. And honestly, same thing with Bianca Andreescu, who is injury prone. Andreescu has shown great form lately, I think, and I think that if she were to play Coco, it would be a very interesting one. And I think that Bianca does have the game to trouble Coco for sure. But I just think that Gauff's overall base level will be too solid right now, especially with this being on clay. So I'm relatively confident with that pick there. To me, I still don't think that there's just that many threats standing in the way of Iga. Maybe Navarro potentially in that semifinal if they were to face, but I don't know. Obviously, Ostapenko, I think, would be the biggest threat against Iga in the whole tournament. But if Yelena loses early, I think the chances of Iga taking home the gold, they increase tremendously. Of course, we know Naomi Osaka, she troubled Iga a lot at Roland Garros in the second round and really should have won that match. But a lot of that was hinging on that match being played indoors. And I just do not see Naomi bringing that specific level against Iga yet again. Having Haddad Maia come through to make the bronze medal match is a bit of a gamble, seeing as though she has not showed great form this year. But I do think, regardless of who comes through there, I think it'll be relatively a surprise semifinalist somewhat. Haddad Maia, I wouldn't say she's a total surprise semifinalist, but I feel like she's not on many people's radar. And then as far as Coco is concerned, I think that if Iga does not come through and make the finals, I think she has a solid shot at bringing home the gold. But I'm just going to be blunt. If Iga is in the final, Coco has very little chance to come through and win gold. But I really hope that she does prove me wrong. But Iga on clay at Roland Garros, it's just a different animal. And we can't forget too that she only lost one match on the red dirt this year. She won not only Roland Garros but Rome and Madrid too. And it'll be a shock if Iga really doesn't come home with the gold. Giving my final thoughts on the draw in the tournament, the field honestly looks kind of mid. I think that DC looked more enticing. I do think that we will also see a few withdrawals and retirements due to the change in surfaces. And I think that the injury-prone players like Raducanu, Kerber, and Sabalenka did well and were smart to skip it. Finding a silver lining, though, I think the atmosphere is bound to be much, much better than the Tokyo Games, so that'll be great to see, especially with the games being held at the site of Roland Garros. Singles play starts in 2 days on Saturday, July 27th, by the way. That is all from my Olympics women's singles draw preview, and let me know y'all's thoughts about me having Iga, Coco, and Emma go 1, 2, and 3 at the games. Let me know y'all's podium picks too in the comment section below, and make sure you again subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post more content throughout the Olympic Games. Thank y'all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see y'all next time here on Christian's Court.